In the glittering world of wealth and power, Ethan Kim was a man who thrived on arrogance, control, and indulgence. A self-made millionaire, he was admired and envied in equal measure, not just for his fortune, but for the confidence and audacity that defined every aspect of his life. He was the type of man who could charm a room, dominate a business negotiation, or host the most extravagant parties without breaking a sweat. But beneath his polished exterior lay a deep streak of recklessness, especially when it came to proving his dominance or impressing his social circle. It was during one such gathering, a lavish party in his penthouse filled with the city's elite, that the idea for the bet was born. Surrounded by friends who were equally wealthy and equally audacious, the conversation turned to love, loyalty, and control. Someone jokingly suggested, "Ethan, I bet you wouldn't dare marry a beggar just to prove a point." The words, playful as they seemed, sparked something dangerous in Ethan's mind. He leaned back, smirking, the thrill of a new challenge igniting his ego. "Watch me," he said confidently, turning a jest into a dare he couldn't resist. The idea of marrying someone at the very bottom of society, someone he considered powerless, weak, and ordinary, appealed to his desire for control. He imagined the humiliation he could impose, the story he could boast about later, and the sheer amusement of proving his friends right. To Ethan, it wasn't about love or partnership, it was a spectacle, a game in which he was sure of winning. Within days, the plan was set in motion. The beggar girl, barely scraping by in the city streets, was approached under the pretext of opportunity, financial security, or simply out of kindness, though she had no idea of the true nature of the bet. To her, this sudden proposal seemed like a lifeline, a chance to escape poverty, but she could not have imagined the humiliation and skepticism that awaited her. For Ethan, the wedding became a trophy. In his mind, the act was a calculated demonstration of superiority, a story to tell at parties and boardrooms alike. He planned the lavish ceremony, the extravagant reception, and every detail to ensure that the spotlight would remain on him, not the girl he had chosen as the subject of his wager. He believed he was in full control, confident that she could neither challenge him nor affect the outcome of his game. Little did he know, the very bet he considered a playful stunt would be the first step in a journey that would upend his assumptions, teach him humility, and reveal truths he could never have predicted. What began as arrogance and amusement was about to evolve into something far deeper, shocking, and transformative, a lesson he would never forget. From the very moment Ethan Kim laid eyes on her, he had already decided who she was, or rather, who he thought she was. The beggar girl, Lena, with her simple clothes, worn shoes, and quiet demeanor, seemed to him the perfect embodiment of weakness and insignificance. In Ethan's mind, she was an unpolished, fragile figure, someone who could be manipulated easily and who had no claim to intellect, ambition, or influence. His assumptions were immediate and absolute, built entirely on appearances and the shallow markers of social status he valued above all else. The wedding day itself was a stark reminder of his arrogance. Lena entered the grand hall with modest grace, while Ethan, surrounded by his friends and wealthy peers, was dressed in his finest suit. Guests whispered and speculated about how far she had fallen, about how laughable it was that someone so humble would marry a millionaire, and Ethan basked in the perceived superiority of the situation. He barely acknowledged her presence, thinking the marriage would be nothing more than a temporary spectacle for his amusement and the amusement of his social circle. Throughout the ceremony, his attitude was clear, he was untouchable, and she was simply a pawn in a game that he had already won. He made no effort to engage with her meaningfully, believing she had nothing to offer beyond her compliance. In conversations with friends, he joked about how easy it would be to control her, how she would never surprise him, and how her lack of education or status made her predictable. In his mind, she was an accessory to his bravado, a living proof of his power and influence. Yet, beneath Lena's quiet demeanor was a strength that Ethan completely failed to recognize. Her humility was not weakness, and her silence was not ignorance. She observed, listened, and analyzed every word, every glance, every assumption made about her. Where Ethan saw incompetence, she saw opportunity to understand the man she had married and the world he inhabited. She carried herself with dignity and self-respect, and while she did not flaunt her intelligence or skill, it simmered quietly beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. This underestimation set the stage for the pivotal turning point. Ethan's arrogance blinded him to the truth: appearances are deceiving, and wealth does not automatically confer insight into character. By dismissing Lena as insignificant, he unknowingly set himself up for a profound lesson in humility, respect, and the unpredictable nature of human potential. His mistake would soon become painfully, and profoundly, clear, a revelation that would change the course of their lives forever. The moment that would completely upend Ethan's assumptions came on their wedding night. After a day filled with pomp, luxury, and whispered judgments from their guests, he finally expected the evening to be just as predictable as the day, a demonstration of his power and her supposed insignificance. He imagined a compliant, quiet bride who would silently follow his lead, confirming every prejudice he held. But what he discovered instead was something that would shock him to his core. As the evening progressed, Lena revealed a side of herself that Ethan had never anticipated. Perhaps it began innocently, a casual comment, a solution to a minor household dilemma, or an insightful observation about a matter of finance or etiquette. He initially dismissed it, assuming it was a lucky guess or a coincidence. But as the night unfolded, it became undeniably clear: Lena was not merely a beggar, nor was she someone defined by her poverty or outward appearance. Beneath the simplicity of her exterior lay extraordinary intelligence, remarkable insight, and a confidence that demanded attention. She spoke with clarity, reasoning, and an unexpected depth that stunned Ethan. Where he had expected naivete, she demonstrated sharp judgment; where he had anticipated weakness, she showed resilience and strategic thinking. She navigated complex topics with ease, offering perspectives that even Ethan, accustomed to authority and brilliance, had overlooked. Every word, every observation, chipped away at his arrogance, revealing the flawed assumptions he had built his bet upon. In addition to her intellect, her composure and dignity left a lasting impression. She had lived through hardship, scarcity, and societal disregard, yet she carried herself with an elegance that could not be bought. Her ability to remain calm under pressure, to articulate her thoughts precisely, and to respond with both wisdom and grace illuminated a hidden strength Ethan had never considered possible in someone he had written off as powerless. This revelation marked a pivotal turning point. Ethan began to see Lena not as a mere participant in a bet, but as a fully realized person, talented, capable, and deserving of respect. The power dynamic he had assumed was shattered; he could no longer view her through the lens of condescension or superiority. The woman he had thought he could manipulate effortlessly had quietly asserted her own agency, intelligence, and worth. By the end of that night, Ethan's perception of Lena had transformed completely. What had started as a wager had evolved into the first step in recognizing her true value, a value that extended far beyond appearances or social status. He had underestimated her at his peril, and for the first time, he began to understand that true brilliance can lie hidden in the most unexpected places. The shock of discovering Lena's hidden talent on their wedding night marked the beginning of a profound change in Ethan. What had begun as a careless bet, a frivolous act meant to amuse himself and impress his friends, slowly transformed into something far deeper: respect, admiration, and eventually love. The man who had once viewed her as powerless began to see her in a completely new light. At first, Ethan struggled with his emotions. His ego, accustomed to dominance and control, resisted the idea that someone he had considered insignificant could challenge him intellectually and emotionally. But Lena's calm confidence, intelligence, and quiet dignity were impossible to ignore. Every time she spoke, offered insight, or demonstrated problem-solving, Ethan felt a mixture of awe and humility. For the first time in his life, he realized that someone could stand beside him as an equal, someone who didn't need wealth or status to assert their worth. Their interactions became more meaningful. Conversations that were once superficial transformed into dialogues rich with mutual understanding. Ethan began to seek Lena's opinions, valuing her judgment in both personal and practical matters. He noticed the subtleties in her demeanor, her patience, empathy, and ability to navigate difficult situations with grace. Each discovery deepened his admiration and gradually melted the arrogance that had once defined him. For Lena, the change in Ethan was equally remarkable. She had expected disdain, mockery, and perhaps even manipulation, but she found a man capable of growth. While she remained cautious, she recognized the sincerity in his evolving behavior, the way he listened, the way he apologized for small slights, and the way he started considering her perspective in decisions that affected both of them. Slowly, trust was built, and with it, the foundation for genuine emotional connection. The transformation reached its emotional peak during intimate moments where Ethan's vulnerability became evident. No longer just a bet or a game, their relationship started to reflect authenticity and mutual respect. His initial infatuation with her courage and intellect deepened into heartfelt love. What had been an act of arrogance evolved into a genuine bond, rooted in admiration, trust, and shared experiences. By the time their early days of marriage passed, Ethan's feelings had completely shifted. The millionaire who once saw Lena as a pawn now recognized her as a partner, an equal, and the person he could rely upon emotionally and intellectually. This transformation of feelings was not instantaneous, it was earned through the revelation of her true character, her resilience, and her brilliance. It was a powerful reminder that love often grows from respect and understanding, rather than appearances or convenience. The story reaches its climax on the night that would define both their lives. What had begun as a reckless bet turned into a series of revelations that completely upended Ethan's worldview. Lena, the woman he had married on a whim, proved that her true worth was far beyond anything he could have imagined. Her intelligence, resilience, and insight not only shocked him but also became a transformative force in his life. Through the days and weeks following their wedding, Lena's talents became increasingly apparent. She offered solutions to business problems that even Ethan's most trusted advisors had overlooked, demonstrating not only legal acumen but also strategic thinking and emotional intelligence. Each time she solved a problem or anticipated an outcome, Ethan's respect deepened. He began to realize that wealth and power alone were not measures of success; character, intellect, and empathy held far greater value. Lena's triumph was not limited to professional arenas. She also challenged Ethan personally, teaching him humility, patience, and the importance of seeing people beyond appearances. His arrogance, once a defining trait, gradually gave way to a new understanding. True greatness comes from recognizing and appreciating the hidden strengths of others. Through her example, he learned that love, respect, and genuine partnership could not be won through control or manipulation but through trust and mutual admiration. The pinnacle moment came when Lena revealed her full potential, leaving Ethan utterly astonished. Whether it was negotiating a critical business deal, solving a legal crisis, or demonstrating profound emotional insight, she consistently exceeded every expectation he had ever held. The man who had married her as a bet realized that he had underestimated her in every possible way. In that realization lay a profound life lesson: assumptions based on social status, appearance, or circumstance are often misleading, and true value is frequently hidden beneath the surface. By the end of the story, both Ethan and Lena emerge transformed. Lena transitions from a beggar, underestimated, overlooked, and dismissed, into a figure of respect, influence, and inspiration. Ethan, in turn, evolves from a prideful, arrogant millionaire into a man capable of admiration, humility, and genuine love. Their relationship blossoms, grounded in mutual respect and shared experiences rather than superficial attraction or convenience. Ultimately, this story is about triumph, not just material success, but the triumph of character, intellect, and love over prejudice and arrogance. It is a reminder that greatness can emerge from the most unexpected places, that first impressions can be dangerously misleading, and that the true rewards in life are often found when we open our eyes to the hidden potential in others. It is both a personal and moral victory for both characters, leaving a lasting impression about the power of humility, insight, and love.